established a real estate tax deferral. As a result of that property being sold, the town will realize $131,545.49, which is good news.
Yes, but where does that money go?
That goes to just an available fund. It'll be rolled into next year's free cash.
So there's no way of tapping that money
We
this
cannot
year?
touch that money right now.
Not even if the assumption was that because that came in, we could relieve the overlay reserve?
Well, I'll ask the finance director to look into whether that money, I know it can't be transferred from the, let's say, it's not a tax title account. It's possible that the town could raise and appropriate that money, but that's a question for the finance director and your DOR to really look at.
Well, I think it's a question needs to be asked based on our situation with free cash. If it can be converted into available funds, then it could be used to fund part of our $500,000 problem.
I will find out. And number 3 is the sewer project. And just to confirm that I did sign a project evaluation form today. It was with the MVP, and what it does is it provides that the project will be listed on the SRF, the sewer revolving fund. Whether or not the project moves forward, but this is something that we should do to get at least the project listed. It's beneficial for the town to seek placement on the SRF list, which does not obligate us to proceed with the project or appropriate any funds, but we need to get in the docket and get in the queue, and this is what this is an effort to do.
Okay.
Note that pleased to announce the appointment of Derek Howe as our acting police sergeant. Congratulations to Sergeant Howe. He will serve in an acting capacity, and this is until any appeals are exhausted concerning the Ernest Henry matter. And thank you, Sergeant Howe, for stepping forward to assume a leadership role within the department. I think I had, in response to Selectman Delaney this evening, I did address number 6, which was the update on the police station project and looking for possible cost recovery of the $30,400 that the town will be seeking through the capital improvement program. I did note that there is a temporary solution which we've identified and immediately put in place to provide proper cooling to the dispatch and 911 areas.
It's really not a temporary solution.
The one that's in there now is though.
Oh, yes.
We get something like that right now. Thank you.
All the new business?
Yeah, I just have one, Mr. Chair, because I just want to get it clear in my mind. Because I've heard us, in conversation, talk about a hiring freeze.
I was going to bring that up.
Oh, you was, okay.
But go ahead.
But,
Bring it up, it's fine.
well, that's what I wanted to do, was to bring it up, and, are we going to endorse one? And if we are, what is it going to be? Because my question was going to be, is there going to be an officer replaced for an officer who's resigned from the police department? I mean, I could see a hiring freeze on new employees, but I really think we have to backfill any employees that do leave within this period. And I guess my second part would be, is this going to be, if we're not going to do that, is this going to be across the board for everybody? And what I'm getting at there is, I mean, God forbid we lost a key employee. Are we just going to go without that employee? This is questions for everybody, because I've heard talk of it, and I'd just like to know what we're doing and where we are. I don't know if...
What, as you're aware, and as we've discussed tonight, we have a problem with the current 2009 fiscal year budget. And the problem centers around revenues that have fallen off to the point where it's raised concerns, meaning that just the fact that we don't have a lot of free cash rolling into this year means that the revenue estimates that we made typically conservative revenue estimates and any money that's turned back from budgets generate free cash.
Right.
Right? So, essentially, you got $220,000 worth of free cash, of which a substantial amount of that came from unspent town budgets, of which I can't tell you what the detail is because I've asked the question, I haven't received the answer. So there's a legitimate concern that our fiscal 2009 estimates that we use for revenue, that determine how much we had to spend, are gonna fall short, for starters. In the area of new growth, building permits basically, and automobile excise tax. Those are the two areas that seem to be just the biggest.
It does.
So, and then we face the fact that our energy costs are clearly going to exceed what we budgeted. Because when we did it in April, the big roll-up in,
Right.
Cost of oil, even though it's fallen off some, is still way up over what it was. And as a result, gas contracts and electricity's gone up, everything else, and we're not fully covered. And then we have,
I realize the
then
dilemma
we
we're
have
in.
snow and
I'm
ice.
just looking for an answer.
Then we have snow and ice.
Yep.
Well, I'm getting to the answer, maybe the long way.
Well, you are,
And the
but that's
snow and
okay.
ice that we've got to make up is a big deficit. So as a result, we actually have to find some things to cut out of our existing 2009 budget, both on the town side and the school side, just to balance things.
Yep.
So one way of doing it is to, and I had suggested this, is hiring freeze. And what I mean by hiring freeze, somebody leaves, you don't replace them. Police, fire, whatever. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions to the rule.
That's what I don't wanna hear.
Yeah.
No, that's what I don't wanna hear though.
Town administrator leaves, what do we do?
You have a hiring freeze. No, that's, see, that's not fair. That is not fair for us to pick and choose who we're gonna hire and who we're not gonna hire. This is just my opinion, and I'm not mad about it, I'm not getting upset. But no, if you're gonna do across-the-board hiring, this was the second part of my question. And thank goodness Greg's not gonna, but if Greg walked out the door tomorrow, we have a hiring freeze on. I mean, I don't think we can pick and choose who we're gonna hire and who we're not gonna hire, who we're gonna replace and not gonna replace. I just don't think that's fair. And a third part of this question, which is not fair for the board, is the school gonna do this? If they have a custodian walk out the door tomorrow, they're gonna hire another one? But that's not a fair question for you gentlemen, I know that.
I think the finance committee, Mr.
Yeah.
Jones left in a hurry.
If we're
Subject
doing-
became too hot. I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw the letter that they put out. It was, I think it was in the, may have been in tonight's information.
Abby sent the email to,
No,
the one that Abby
email
sent?
from Abby? Yeah, the email
Sent
from
to all
Abby.
of us?
Yeah.
I got the recommending hire.
Anyway,
Yeah, okay.
in addition to.
I just wanted to
okay.
know the intention,
All right,
'cause
the intention
it's never
is,
been spelled
the
out.
intention is not to replace anybody that leaves. And, you know, I didn't want to make it so solid that obviously if something came up that
Well-
we had to deal with, then we'd have to take it as an exception. Second is, I think we have to go back and look at our spending and say, are there some things that we can maybe hold off on until we get through half the year or beyond, where we have a little bit, one is we've gone through winter, so we know how bad a winter is and how much additional money that is gonna hit us the following year. Two, that, you know, we look at, you know, we'll have a better feel for what our energy costs might be and so on and so forth. And that may allow us then, closer to the end of the year, to make those purchases or implement those programs that we've held off on. The idea is to finish the year balanced and not negative, because that only rolls into the following year as a bigger problem. So that's where I was coming from associated with that. And Finance Committee has come to the same conclusion on their own, I think, which prompted their memorandum email that they sent out to everybody, which I think there's a copy. Oh, maybe I have a copy because I had copied it, if it's not in your packet tonight.
Yeah, I think it was emailed to all.
Yeah, it was emailed, but not all of us always get
I
every
didn't get it.
email.
Oh, I didn't get it.
Okay.
I couldn't open it.
I have a copy here, Joe, I can pick up. Anyway, that's where that came from.
Okay.
Just in relation to that, I understand Joe's point as far as, it's gonna be across the board, be across the board. And again, I don't have a problem where if there's a position that's vacant and the town administrator wants to bring it to the board for, this is what we have as a situation here. What's the board's wishes from a policy standpoint? I'd be more than happy to take a position on any and all positions. In this particular case, the first one to come home to roost is filling of a vacancy in the police department. I think we have to hold off at this time. Personally, I think we need to hold off on the hiring of it.
But I think,
the position.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you're more comfortable with the rather than a carte blanche hiring freeze, saying, any position, that becomes vacant, should be brought to the board from a policy standpoint, administration, bring it to us first to weigh in. I have no problem weighing in. In this particular case, I think we need to hold off right now on filling the vacancy in the police department. We have another situation in the finance office that calls for a little different action. We're not gonna backfill a position, but we're gonna end up with less hours being spent on it.
Well, yeah, and if I could, Mr. Chair, I can almost live with that rather than what's being suggested, that we have a hiring freeze and we pick and choose. Because I'd like to give that department head a chance to come in and explain, because this particular department's gonna be backfilled with overtime.
Yeah, I know,
Well,
but I think, whether it be the police department, I don't mean to be picking on them.
No, I'm not
but,
picking on them, I'm
but
just
they just have the
saying
first
that
one out of the box.
situation that's there.
I don't personally need to hear the pitch, for the most part. I don't think I need to hear the pitch, because we hear it every year during the budget season as to the current staffing levels through all departments. What the staffing levels are, what their wants, needs, and desires, and what they have to do, and what they need in the way of personnel in order to execute their duties. We're short anyway. We need more police officers if we really wanted to get right down to brass tacks. You really could use more police officers to facilitate, the execution of their duties, but we can't afford it. We can't afford it right now.
Well,
So,
if I may, so I mean,
So I don't need a department head to come in here so we can tell them no.
well, so how about if he or she sends a letter and said, to complete the appointment would cost you, I'm just taking a number out of the air now, $60,000, I'm gonna backfill it, it's gonna cost you $90,000. I mean, that would sure say to me, we should hire another person.
But I'm expecting our town administrator, who's in charge of the day-to-day operations, to report that to us, and to inform us of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Say that
Let's
he's managing it, or he can't manage it.
But
And-
let's ask them this.
That's what they're gonna get.
I don't believe, and
I
I
believe-
have not spoke to the chief of
My
police
guess
on
is
this.
he's communicated with whomever.
Well, he may have, but I haven't spoke to the chief. I mean, I don't know if the chief has been told yet that he's not gonna get this person back. I don't know that. I have not spoke to the chief on it. But if he hasn't, he should be, so we can get his feeling on it.
But that's his job.
I can just confirm that I've had discussions with the chief, and I told him that I'm reluctant to call for a civil service assistant for the position on a permanent basis. So he's aware of it. from
Okay.
that perspective.
See, I wasn't aware of that.
You might not like the answer, but again, I expect the town administrator to report to the board as to when it's necessary, when we can get by, when we can't get by, and,
Well, would it be fair to ask, Mr. Valiakonis, could you ask the chief for a letter saying what impact that will have as far as if we do not fill that position, will he have to fill it with overtime, and the approximate cost that's gonna cost us? Is that a fair thing to ask the chief?
if I might, Mr. Chairman, I don't know that we should, we're bypassing the town administrator.
I'm going through him, Steve.
Well, you're actually going right by him.
Well,
You're going right by him, right? I'm expecting the town administrator, as a member of this board, to report to us the bottom line on things. I don't necessarily wanna go in a public venue, say, okay, as the town administrator,